Hey guys, welcome back to the Thriving Teens podcast. Today we're going to be filming part 2 of the lessons that I've learned in junior year. And we're going to be talking about relationships, all things relationships, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your friends, and your relationship with potential romantic interests, just all across the board. Because I feel like I've seen so much growth, especially in the last couple months, in this area of just my mindset, and so many things has changed. And also, I recently recorded a podcast that is already out about how to break the cycle of fighting with your parents. So if you're struggling with relational conflict with your parents, I highly recommend watching that episode after this one. But my first takeaway from junior year with relationships and just building a healthy, holistic you is that it takes a village to raise a child, truly. And it's so important to build out a support network and not to build your whole world around one person. Overall, my desires for a relationship has changed. I used to feel like I wanted my significant other to be like my life coach and best friend and like everything in one person, but I reflected more on like if that is really something that I want, I think it can be unhealthy, especially in the early stages of a relationship, if you just completely integrate your lives with someone else. I feel like I used to think it was really cute to overlap your life with your partner a lot, but maybe I just have more traditional views, but I feel like that's not so necessary when you're so young and before marriage. And I think people get themselves in a trap where they always go to their partner first whenever they need advice on something and don't do that reflection on their own or don't have mentors in their life. I think something that I really learned, like growing up in the Christian church especially, is the whole culture of mentorship, having older people that can speak into your life and mentoring younger people. And I think it kind of does build out a village type structure where you have more sources of wisdom in your life and that it's not only you and your echo chamber, because I think it can be really dangerous to build out all your emotional support on like one person. I think it is really important to be vulnerable and authentic in a relationship, but it's like if every single time something goes wrong or you're feeling insecure, you create this habit that you always just go to your partner first and then they soothe that for you. I just feel like that creates an unhealthy cycle of dependence where I would kind of rather, reflect on things personally and come together and be like, how can we work through this or how can I support you with this, instead of always going to my partner with like my raw emotions in the moment. So I just think it's really important to have multiple sources in your life, and that can be reaching out to people that you can think would be really great mentors for you, like having big sisters, little sisters. Something I really appreciate with making friends on the internet and having other creator friends is a lot of my friends are older than me, and I do have more friends now that are my age that are also creators. And I'm trying to make friends that are younger than me too, so I can kind of have a nice, well-rounded circle. But I'm so grateful to have people in my life that feel like bigger sisters and older brothers, because especially with my siblings like going to college, at times, it can feel lonely and they are busy with their own work a lot of the times. Like my sister's an architecture student and she's always in the studio, so she is a really great big sister, but she can't always be present because she has new priorities in her life. So I find it really great to just have this whole support network of people, and that is something I'll forever feel blessed by. And I think a big lesson I learned during junior year is the importance and the value of community. I'd rather have community like over material wealth, because I think there are so many ways to be rich in relationships. I definitely believe that you can have both, but I'm just saying in order of priorities, community is so important to me. Next lesson or takeaway that I have from junior year is to expect nothing from people and appreciate everything. So this does not mean that you don't have standards over what you allow in your life, but it just means having realistic expectations. Like, no one really owes us anything. I'm a lot less apologetic about putting myself first, and it's made me really grow in empathy for people who put themselves first and set boundaries. I think I used to feel kind of threatened by people that set boundaries because it felt uncomfortable to me, because I feel like I people pleased a lot, but now it's so much more normal to me that I actually really respect that and get along with people that feel the same way. So in terms of like relationships, friendships, I just appreciate the current moment that we have, without trying to extrapolate this future. I remember I was really down bad for a guy. Honestly, this has happened with multiple people in the past. I would just take the little things that they would do, like the bare minimum, and just turn it into this whole story with like a future projection of us getting closer. And it's like, that's not guaranteed, right? Because anyone can switch their mind and like if they want to get close or not. Like there are people that I thought I'd be much closer friends with, and then like a couple weeks down the line, I'm like, oh, I don't really want to progress this friendship. So I would say that I am naturally a pretty like long-term thinker. I like to think a lot into the future, but I think I have been leaning more into the side of just being present in the moment and wanting people to do what is best for them and not being so attached to people that we have no agreed commitment with. Because I don't think attachment is a bad thing. Like, I think it is a beautiful thing to be attached to someone. But I think when you attach yourself really early on without guarding your heart, it just does yourself a disservice. So now whenever I'm talking to a guy that I may like, I just remind myself, like, I will be okay if this person just decides to ghost me tomorrow. Like, yeah, maybe I'll be like, oh, like, I wish, we could talk more, but I will get over it, because I had no expectations of what that would turn into. And I still value commitment, but I understand that your commitment needs to be earned. You are truly such a prize. Like, I would really think about it. If you like someone, pay really close attention, be very aware of how much emotional energy that you're giving them when they're not currently present. So I think a huge part of still appreciating someone but having no expectations for them is really try not to think about them too much when you're not together, right? Because I think we normalize weird things when we like someone that we would think is really weird in friendships. For instance, if I was friends with a girl and we talked like maybe 2 hours per week, but I was like thinking about her and like making up scenarios in my head like 14 hours a week, you'd probably think that's a little crazy or like a little delusional, right? Like if you're spending more time thinking about them than actually interacting with them, that can get so dangerous because it's very difficult to parse out what is reality and what is a fiction of your imagination. So I think something that can be healthy as well is also realizing how young you are and viewing every single interaction with someone you may be romantically interested in as a learning experience. I think this took me a while to understand. I remember one of my youth pastors told me, dating is just, for data, and don't take things too personally, just like take every experience as a learning experience. And it was really hard for me to like receive that at the time because I was like really interested in just like one person. And I couldn't imagine like talking to other people. And I just didn't really see like the need to. And I think now I'm a lot more open to growing and learning and be like, every single new person I talk to, I'm just learning more about what I like and enjoy. And that just even comes with guy friends as well. I remember one of my friends as well. It was so shocking to me that he was like talking to me about how he liked multiple girls at the same time, and he was like, oh, I just don't really like to get attached to like one idea, and I kind of made jokes. I was like, that's like hoe behavior, but now I kind of understand that because it wasn't like he was emotionally cheating on anyone because there was no commitment, there was no agreed commitment. I think this is something that guys do a lot that as women we forget that we can do too, is it's totally okay to talk to multiple people that you may be romantically interested in at the same time, because if you've not made like an actual commitment to each other, like why would that be wrong, right? Like you are such a prize. I think it is important to know your options, and guys do this all the time. So I feel like when girls do it, or us as girls sometimes feel like we don't have the permission to. And I'm not pressuring you to talk to multiple guys. Like if there is one guy that you like, as long as you're keeping healthy expectations, that's fine if he's the only guy you want to talk to. But personally for me, I think that has helped a lot because my learning has accelerated a lot. Because when I used to just kind of like fixate on like one person, I just wasn't learning as much because I wasn't talking to as many people. And when I mean talking, I just mean like just literally talk to human beings. I'm not saying you have to like slide into someone's DMs and be all flirty. Okay, next learning lessons is that High standards protect you from low quality experiences. My standards have just changed so much. Like, I can't even describe it. I think a big part of my standards changing was literally talking to more people and getting more data points, because growing up, I had this idea of what was normal in relationships, especially between like men and women. And I think that negatively influenced what I interpreted as love and what I wanted in a relationship. And I feel like I was always into people that were kind of emotionally unavailable. And I kind of liked a chase or like confusion. And it's just, I'm no longer attracted to confusion, which I am proud of myself for. I think you should pat yourself on the back if your preferences are changing in a healthy direction. And it was really when I started to make more guy friends and get to know them better that I was just like, how come my guy friends treat me so much better than guys I liked in the past? And I was like, it just does not make sense now to go like someone that does not treat me at least as well as my guy friends do. Because I'm like, why would I regress? You know, like, I'd rather just be single and like enjoy my friendships with my guy friends than be in a relationship with a guy that does not treat me as well as my guy friends. So I definitely think having more people in your life is really beneficial. Again, I'm not trying to say like go talk to every single person that you see, but I think something really dangerous that we have to be aware of is, as teenage girls, it is very easy to become trapped or to become a target. I'm pretty sure you guys have probably heard like, oh, teenage girls are impressionable or adolescents are impressionable. And it's because we haven't had that many experiences. We don't have like as solid of an idea of what is healthy compared to some older people, no matter how mature you are. Because there are things that I thought was normal a year ago that I no longer think is normal. So I think a lot of the time statistics show that it's typically younger women that end up in like abusive relationships. And obviously it is the abuser's fault, but I'm just saying that something that we can be aware of as young women is making sure that we expose ourselves to a lot of experiences and making sure those experiences are in safe environments so that we understand what is healthy and we understand what is not healthy, right? Because if everyone that you've talked to or everyone that you're familiar with is in this one small town or this one certain culture or societal norm, it's just like very easy to get brainwashed into like what is normal. And I would say I've become a lot less patient with like people being in my inner circle. Like, I will love anyone, you know, from a distance, but I just feel like I have a much better pulse on what is BS now after talking to so many new people. And even when I interview some people that like want to work with me, I can like spot out the limiting beliefs people have and the way that they answer interview questions and almost like sniff out that weakness in a way. Like, and I don't mean that to degrade who they are as a person, but I just mean like as someone who could potentially work with me, I'm just much more aware of that. And I used to have a lot, I wouldn't even say lower standards for people that work with me. I just did not have any standards at all. I think now I'm much more patient and calculated before I make a decision. And I'm a lot less quick to commit to something until I understand more of a big picture. And I think that really comes with increasing your value of yourself, where I feel like I value my time a lot more now. And I realize that my presence is precious and it's important. And I try to treat people's time as precious and important too. So I'm like, you know, let me treat my time as precious and important. And I really want you guys to fully understand that for yourselves too, because your time and presence is important. I think what's really helped me recognize that was like kind of the work that I've done like through YouTube and my business, because I love running the high performance student coaching program. It was so fulfilling to be able to work with other high school students and impact high school students. And it just made me realize like with my time I can impact people. So if I'm wasting my time on someone who does not value me, I'm not using my time to be a service to the world. You know, like I'm missing out. That's an opportunity cost. So I highly recommend doing small things to impact other people, because it will make you realize that your time is valuable. And I do agree that we need to find our sense of worth outside of our external achievements, but I would be lying if I said that the things that I like to do to create impact in the world have not directly fed into my confidence. So I would say the internal and external work are both equally important. The next lesson that I've learned is that friendship dynamics change, and we must choose to either adapt or leave the friendship. I think there is a lot of misleading content online that's like, oh, if a friendship is not serving you, like cut it off. And that content is satisfying to hear, maybe, like, oh, it's like not a me problem, let me just cut them off. And sometimes you need to cut off a friendship, but I reflect more on the times where I was pretty unbearable to be around, and my friends still supported me. And I think something that we've kind of lost, especially for Gen Z, is growing in compassion and patience for people who are kind of going through a tough time. And something that's helped me is recognizing the difference between like a very like toxic, antagonistic person versus someone who's just currently not in their healthiest state, and they may do things that hurt you, right? Because there's a difference between someone that's like, I want Annie to fail, so I'm going to do these things so they fail. Like, that person, just cut them off. Like, that is clearly toxic. But it's different than, like, let's say someone is just really insecure right now, and they say certain things that, I don't know, hurt your feelings or make you feel bad. A lot of the times they're not, like, trying to hurt you, right? They're just going through a lot. So I think I've grown a lot of understanding and compassion for that. And I think the best way that I personally like kind of dealing and coping in that situation is just readjusting my expectations and boundaries for that relationship. Because it's okay for your dynamic to change, right? It's okay to have new boundaries. We don't always need to like cut people off. And sometimes we just need to change our expectations for someone, right? Like, there will be seasons in your friendship where you'll have to be there for that other person more, where you're more in a giving mode rather than receiving. I think that's a beautiful part of human relationships and why we need each other. There are so many people in my life that gave so much love to me while I was really struggling, and I really do want to be able to do that with other people, but obviously with boundaries. So I think making sure that you have an inner circle of people that are very supportive and healthy is really beneficial. And sometimes you need to understand that we have friends for different things, and this is pretty hard for me to understand. I'm still kind of wrapping my head around it, because I always kind of felt like that was transactional, or I didn't want that, you know, the whole like you have friends for certain things vibe, or like there are certain things that you don't talk to with certain friends. And I think what I've come to conclude more in the recent few months is I think it's really, really important to have like a couple like soul level friendships where you can talk to them about literally like everything. One of my friends, Elizabeth, like, I can talk to her about business, I can talk to her about boy stuff, I can talk to her about, like, random high school things, and I appreciate our friendship so much on that soul level. But it's, like, not every friendship needs to be like that, right? Like, I think as long as you have a couple people in your life that can do that for you, like, I don't think we need to expect that from everyone, and not everyone's going to expect that from us. And I think it's totally okay to just spread love to each other, even if it's not going to last forever. I don't know, I think I'm just a lot more okay with that and a little bit more detached in the world overall. Because I think it was really trippy, like, watching the seniors at my high school graduate, because it made me realize that at the end of the day, and this does not diminish the importance of staying present in high school, like, there are just some people in high school you'll, like, never see again or never really interact with again unless you make the conscious effort. And my acting teacher was actually talking about in our class, like, we're probably never going to see each other again unless fate brings us together in another chapter. And it just made me realize how temporary things are, but that's okay, and we can still love each other in the moment, right? Because just because a relationship won't last forever does not mean that it's not important, not something to be invested in, not something to be valued. And I think that's brought me like a lot more peace as well, just like the temporal nature of high school. Because I think for a while I just cared way too much about what people thought. Because I am a very social person and I love being around others. And my whole life I've just wanted to have a lot of friends. And I think at times where I've felt maybe judged in high school, or that assumptions were made about me, or that past mistakes that I've made have still defined me, I just try to work so hard to like prove other people wrong, to the point that I feel like I would never want someone to think that I was mean, always just trying to like be smiley, just like talking to people and like just trying to like convince them to like me. And that literally did not work, guys. I think a big thing I've learned about high school is that a lot of times people's first impression of you or what they thought about you 2 years ago, it just does not change, you know? I think sometimes when we see something we don't like in someone, we just keep on seeing that and we look like for the bad. Whereas like I don't know, I just don't really like care anymore about people in high school think. And I don't know, it's crazy to me. Like, I'm actually okay with people, like, thinking I'm mean. Like, not that I want to be mean. Do you know what I mean? But, like there are some YouTube friends that I have that literally, like, if someone at the school makes fun of them, they're like, F you. And I don't think I'm ever gonna be like that. But that used to just be so crazy to me. I'm like, don't you, like, want them to like you? Like, be really nice. Like, convince them to like you. And I just don't care about that anymore. I don't know. I feel like maybe like the senioritis energy has just like flooded onto me. But I feel like it's just giving me so much more freedom, just realizing how temporary this is. And like if the people that I'm thinking of what they could think about me, if I don't care about having them in my very, very long-term future, it just doesn't make sense to care so dang much. That's like a big relationship lesson I've learned. I've also learned that you repel confident people away when you care about what people think. Because I remember I would talk to genuinely like very confident women, a lot of them who are like maybe in their mid-20s or whatever, and I would just say the most insecure things, and they were very like compassionate towards me, and I appreciate that so much. But I know in the back of their mind that kind of came off as like okay, this girl still needs to do some self-work, which is totally okay because, you know, I'm not perfect and still going through a lot. But it made me realize when you care about maybe what people in high school think, like you literally become less attractive to the people you actually want to be in your life. So I realized that by like caring about what people think, there's actually a lot that I miss out on. And I just feel a lot happier without feeling like I can explain myself to people. And one of my friends told me about this literally 6 months ago, and it's only like taken like till now for me to understand. She was like, okay, Annie, like let's say like people already don't like you at school. Let's say that is the reality. Everyone doesn't like you at school, okay? If that is the case, then it's like, what can you lose? You know, if they've already decided not to like you, what can you lose? And I don't know if you guys think my mindset is crazy, but like I just don't see any reason to care anymore. I just feel so much more free because I'm like, yeah, you already don't like me. Like I actually just don't care anymore. I don't know what changed. Maybe it was like I think I just started to make so many like new friends that actually loved me for who I am authentically, that I realized like after high school, like we choose our worlds, you know, like people's concept of what the real world is actually just so different. Like our concept of what the real world is just not the same, right? Because I've had people tell me like, you spend too much time on the internet, you need to focus on the real world, like your small town, right? And then some people are like, oh, your town is so like privileged, like it's not representative of the real world. You need to go out to college and meet people from different cultures, right? So some people think that my small town is a real world. Some people think a college university is a real world. Some people think LA is a real world, right? Like, for instance, Kim Kardashian's world is very different from mine. My world may be very different from another person's. So I feel like as we start to grow older and, like, leave our, like, high school environments, like, you kind of build your own world. Do you know what I mean? Like Elon Musk's world is completely different than mine, but that doesn't make his world any less real. It is still reality. I think just realizing that this is a temporary stage, I'm just like trying to romanticize high school and enjoy where I am now, but it just makes you realize that every single world has its own belief set and own ways of seeing things, right? So let's say that I am an artist. I just commission art. And I grow up in a very like preppy town where everyone's into finance and stuff. People may view my art like it's stupid or that I'm so unsuccessful, right? But let's say I move to New York City and I'm around this huge community of other artists that's now become my world, and my work and my art is perceived completely differently. So a lot of the times I think when people judge us, you need to be very aware of the context that they're thinking in. Like, what is their life's philosophy and how may that affect the way that they perceive what I'm doing? And I think it is important to consider people's opinions to a certain extent, because if I'm saying something that is genuinely harmful, like that any human, right, from Kim Kardashian, Elon Musk, to my mother would be like, that is not kind, which I definitely said those things, so I'm not perfect, then that is a different scenario, right, than just being like, I don't really like what Annie wants for her future. It's like, why would I care about that when there's like a community for everything? And I think that is a beautiful part about social media. It can be bad when it's like, political extremes where people get in these like political communities and just it's like an echo chamber. I think that's a big danger of social media. But also, like, a pro in social media is that you are no longer like limited maybe to the worlds of your physical location. So some YouTubers that make like gaming content were like this weird kid, right, in their high school. And now they're really successful and have met people that are into this similar things. So yeah, that's kind of what changed my mindset on like caring about what people in high school think. It's just really hard to care now. Anyways, those are my lessons that I've learned from junior year. And I'm really excited going into senior year because I just feel so like emotionally free from things. Like I feel like I'm really finding my community and stride and like who I am, what I want in my future, and I feel a lot less attached to certain outcomes. So in that way, I'm kind of excited to get into the college application process because I know no matter what the outcome is, like it will work for my favor even if I don't understand exactly why it's happening, and I do trust God's plan for my future and life, and I just feel like a lot of the tough things I've had to go through for junior year have really prepared me up to this new season that I'll be going into. So I'm really excited this summer to continue just living authentically to me and to continue learning new skills and just to get into senior year in a much healthier mindset and be able to love others out of the love that I have for myself. So I hope you guys could benefit in any way from the lessons I have learned relationally from junior year. I can't wait to talk to you guys in the next podcast episode. If you have any podcast episode recommendations, just email me your idea. Not email me, DM me your request/idea. My Instagram is at AnnieLongYT. I definitely want to start an Instagram for the podcast. I'm kind of like slowly building out the podcast because I see this as something that's very on brand for me, and I love podcasts, audiobooks, and learning in that way and long form content. But I have not devoted like a lot of dedicated time to be like, we're gonna build this masterpiece out. But I kind of like this like iterative process where we're slowly building on the pod. So I hope you guys are enjoying the journey too. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Much love.